Scholastic Audio presents The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew, read by Nora Hunter. The first day of the exam, she and 300 other hopefuls spent the morning locked in the echoing chamber of a public high school gymnasium. She'd felt, as she often did in wide, empty spaces, the soft tiptoe of unease down her spine, the unsettled ruffle of shadows along her periphery. It was a bad habit, her tendency to personify the dark, to imagine it restless, the way she had when she'd been little and lonely and looking for a friend. To fear the way it drew her eye, the way it pulled at her like a tide. As the proctor rattled off rules she couldn't hear, she'd busied herself with setting her pencils into a neatly sharpened line and done her best not to stare into the gymnasium's murky corners. The second day of testing, the aspirants had been called one by one into a little wan room by a little wan man, made to sit in a polypropylene chair with the legs gone loose. There, the darkness had pressed cool and close. It fell across her lap in shallow pools of blue. It coiled against her like a happy cat. "Hello," she imagined it said. "Hello, hello." Across from her, the interviewer watched her much too closely, firing off a series of seemingly unrelated questions. Delaney fidgeted on the edge of her seat and did her best to read his lips beneath the wiry fringe of his mustache. She kicked herself for imagining the way the shadows purred. On the third day, Delaney was swapping out the dull lead of one pencil for the pin-sharp nib of another when the proctor summoned her by name. "Delaney Meyers-Petrov?" Several curious heads picked up. "I'd like to see you in the hall." Ears burning, she followed the thin slip of a woman out of the gym and into the menthol-green colonnade of lockers. The slam of the fire doors rattled her teeth. "Pack your bag, Miss Meyers-Petrov," the proctor said, without preamble. "You're done here." The elimination hit like a sucker punch. Delaney wanted to push back. She wanted to resist. But she hadn't been built to cross lines. And so she thanked the proctor and slunk back inside to pack up her things. That afternoon, she'd lain in bed and thought of all the things she might have done wrong. When dusk settled, she'd felt the dark of her room tisk reproachfully at her, and a bubble of shame beaded deep inside her chest. Maybe she'd answered a question wrong. Maybe they didn't want an applicant who couldn't hear. Maybe they thought she was a little bit odd, this girl who side-eyed the dark. And then, one day, on a very unremarkable Tuesday morning, she received a letter in the mail. It was late April, the days wet and insipid. She'd huddled by the mailbox, fingers numb, and torn into the seal of the Grants and Scholarships Committee, all hard wax and insignia. The header was embossed in glimmering silver, the paper fine cream-colored cardstock. "Ms. Delaney Meyers-Petrov, congratulations on a job well done. You are a recipient of our Needs-Based Placement Fellowship. Due to your decidedly unique capabilities, the Placement Committee has determined that your talents would be best utilized in a neo-anthropological field. As such, you have been assigned to Howe University's Godbole School of Neo-Anthropological Studies. The scholarship will be sent directly to the college, indicating that it can be used for tuition, fees, or books. Your presence is expected at the Godbole Building, Auditorium B, on the morning of September 1st. More information pertaining to your placement can be accessed on the Global Student Portal. Please see the attached documents for your login information. If you have any questions, feel free to call the Student Resources Department at the number listed below. At the bottom, the signature of a board member was signed in a looping scrawl. She'd stood there for a long time afterward, rain needling her skin. She'd heard of Godbole. Everyone had. It was a highly prestigious, yet controversial program. A magnet for those who dabbled in the occult. It's all smoke and mirrors, she'd seen someone comment, when a leaked video purported to show a Godbole student slipping between worlds. Anyone with a laptop can doctor footage. These students are paying into a sham. The video looked like something out of the Twilight Zone. One instant, the student stood perfectly still and stared behind the camera, waiting for a cue. Then, with a nod, he took a single step. The sky swallowed him up. The air rippled like water in his wake. He didn't reappear. Unique capabilities, her letter said. People had used plenty of adjectives to define Delaney Meyers-Petrov in her 18 silent turns around the sun. Tragic Delaney, who'd fallen too sick, too young. Fearful Delaney, who still slept with the lights on. Fragile Delaney, who needed constant coddling. But capable Delaney? That was something new. She liked the fit of it, like an unwashed sweater. And so, on a bluebird day in September, she packed up her things and she went to conquer the world, and maybe some others, to prove that she could. She took a breath, and she took a step, and the shadows followed.